In a collective sense, I think humankind is on the verge of outgrowing the need for that imaginary friend, and that could take us, the next 2 or 3 or 5 centuries. It's going to be a long, hard struggle letting go of that, but I could see that as an eventuality. At this point, I consider myself just as much of an atheist as I do a theist.
Well, that's absolutely absurd. Well, that's like saying I consider myself just as much a basketball as not a basketball.
Well,
that's
sure, why not?
Well,
that is a completely
you're in a
irrational, illogical statement.
Cut him some slack.
Yeah.
No.
What about it?
I don't. Okay. Hang on, real quick. Hang on, real quick. I don't cut anybody slack. PZ Myers was on Nonprofits 2 weeks ago. He said something that I completely agree with. We welcome ideas, we welcome discussion, we welcome everybody, but do this with the knowledge that when you say something stupid, you're going to be flayed alive. And when people say something like, I am just as...
I opened myself up to that. That's why I said that, and I don't mind being flayed.
But
here's my position. Life's too long to settle for one set of options and to settle for one set of beliefs. I can have fun with either one. I can look at the universe and see the presence or absence of a creator and look at either one and say, yeah, I can dig that. If there's a creator, no big deal. I'll meet it when I die. If there's not a creator, no big deal. I won't even know about it when I die because I probably won't consciously be aware that I'm dead.
Well, it sounds like you're in the middle of some sort of longer-term process, and I think for a lot of atheists, as they sort of come out and deal with these things, it's a multi-year thing of examining the evidence there, and I can see potentially being somewhere in the middle of that and empathizing with both sides. That's what I meant by cutting slack, because I can see somebody in a position where that they can see the value of both viewpoints, but maybe
the
you...
The atheist scientist crowd definitely makes more sense. But the irrational, religious, mystic crowd is a lot of fun to hang out with and talk with. And I think it's
probably more emotionally satisfying.
Yes, right? But the words have meanings. And theism carries with it the meaning that one believes there is a God. And that is a binary position. Either you believe that there is a God or you do not. There is no in between.
Maybe it can change
that's the fun thing about any dividing line is you can take an eraser, erase that line, and have...
No, you can't.
Objectively, wait.
No, you cannot.
Objectively, one is true and the other isn't.
No, you are not understanding me. Okay. You are not understanding me because you are setting up a false dichotomy. I said either you believe that a God exists or you do not believe. That is not the same thing as you believe a God exists or you believe no gods exist. That is something different. There is a single claim. God exists. Either you believe that claim or you do not believe that claim. There is no middle ground. There is no line to erase. I can draw you a Venn diagram that demonstrates it. This is logic 101. There are no middle ground options. What you're doing...
Make a statement that I think we can both agree on and have you tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
That in the objective sense of truth, one or the other is true, but both cannot be true. It's either true that there is a God or it's true that there is no God.
Correct.
Both are incapable of being true.
Correct.
However, I can believe whatever I want. I can
You're right.
believe both.
No, you can't. You can't. You cannot do that. How can you possibly do that?
Humans aren't logical sometimes.
No. It's not a matter of not being logical. No, stop. It's not a matter of not being logical. It's a matter of honesty. You cannot simultaneously say, I believe there is a God and I believe there's not a God. One of those is a lie. One of those you don't really believe. You're just saying. You cannot be in that position.
You're assuming a brain's a monolithic thing. People compartmentalize their beliefs all the time.
There's a difference between...
You're wrong. I just don't see how you're right.
Humans are messy.
Wow. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just don't see how you're right. That sums up the problem. Thanks.
Thanks for calling.
This goes back to a lot of people profess a belief. And I don't care what people profess. it matters on some level. I'm a Christian. Maybe you're not. But that's what you're professing, and on that level it matters because your actions are going to, reflect how people perceive Christians or Jews or Buddhists and Muslims, anything. But in reality, in actuality, on a single issue, on a single statement of X exists, it is true that either that statement is true or that statement is not true. I fail to see how anybody could say they simultaneously believe both of them. Now, maybe you believed one yesterday and a different one today. Maybe you're vacillating back and forth between the two of them. But to say that you simultaneously believe X and not X is insane. You should go seek professional help if you think that that's true.
Well, you can't build anything on that, right?
Yeah.
That's a contradiction, and you can't make any real moral decisions or you can't base any decisions on a premise like that.
Which is why I flatly assert that the people who do that are deceiving themselves or trying to deceive others, or batshit crazy. You didn't strike me as that type of person. So I think you're engaged in a little self-deception.